Siobhan. I'm going to introduce my mother, Lorraine Josey, who created the BackTone Posture Trainer, to go through this webinar about changing posture using biofeedback. So I will switch over and bring in Lorraine. Here she is. And 3, 2, 1.
Hi. Hi, Siobhan. So welcome to our online posture retraining program using biofeedback. So if you've got a BackTone there with you or someone in your household has a BackTone, we'd like you to grab it and run through this program with us. We want this to be an intervention program for you to use whilst you're all isolated with this coronavirus. Or perhaps, you might be a practitioner who's wanting to see how we actually deliver a posture training program. This will go through that for you. Or you might be just someone who's curious and wanting to know what's all this about. We're going to make it we want to make it a hands-on experience, and we're going to use 2 live examples. One of them is Siobhan, who will represent a fairly typical BackTone user with, not really too many problems. And then we're going to have me, because I will represent someone who is a bit more, is more complicated or complex, because I do have problems. I've got multiple sclerosis. I spend most of my time in a wheelchair or a scooter. My trunk muscles don't work or don't work very well at all. And so a program for someone with more complicated problems needs to be delivered in a different sort of way. And we thought that would be a good example, and put my money where my mouth is. So I'll just, before we go forward, as you've already met Siobhan, so I just want to ask a few questions of Siobhan. Hi.
Hi. I'm going to pretend that that Lorraine isn't my mother, and that I haven't heard about BackTone before, and this is my first session.
So Siobhan, can you tell us why you want to do this program with us?
Well, I've been getting a lot of pain in my shoulders since working from home, but before that, I've been meaning to do it for a while. I've seen some photos around the place of myself at work, particularly when I'm slouching, and it's just not great. So now that I've got a bit more time on my hands, it's a good time to kind of start this program like I probably should have many years ago.
Okay, and that's those reasons are fairly typical, actually. Often people will have some pain symptoms, and many of us do. A great proportion of computer users get regular neck pain, shoulder pain, upper back pain, and they also people will do it because they want to. They've seen candid shots of themselves and thought, holy moly, my posture isn't as good as I thought it was, or someone might have mentioned it to them, and so they want to get. They're the most common reasons, but sometimes we also see where people want to improve their performance. Some sports people using it to actually increase their strength, increase their physical performance.
And it's important to ask that at the start of a program, I imagine, Mum?
Yeah. Oh yes, it is. And we're going to in a few minutes go through that. It's really very useful to get an idea before you start, or at the start, of your current status. And we try and do that in as kind of an objective way as we can, and then do that again towards the end of the program. And I find that really empowers people.
So people watching at home, feel free to comment what your reasons are you want to change your posture if you're following along, or if you're a practitioner that's just curious a bit. I'll have more questions for Lorraine. Send through those, and I'll be kind of controlling this kind of magic internet device, and we'll save them for the end, so I can download them.
Great, thanks, Siobhan. So we're going to be delivering this program over 3 or 4 sessions in the coming weeks, over about 3 or 4 weeks. And I know that doesn't sound very specific, but the fact is that a posture retraining program needs to be flexible. It needs to respond to your needs at the time, according to what you're doing and how you're going. Okay, so let's get started. Well, and the start is actually, we're not going to put our back tones on yet. The start is to it's important right from the beginning, and ideally before you put your back tone on, although many of them you would have had them on already. But if you're a practitioner and you're doing a program with someone, do this before they get their back tone on the very first time. And that is that we want to get an idea of your current status. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. We have on our website a questionnaire for evaluating your status. It's just a one-page simple questionnaire, and I'll get Siobhan to bring that up for you in a second. You can print that off and fill it out. So there's the BackTone page. You click on Tools and Resources, and that should come up. And they're the first one there is the simple self-assessment. You can download that, print it out, and fill it in. So I'll get also, we're also just going to go through just a simple way you can keep a record on your, perhaps on your phone. And so just to explain the process of doing that, I'm going to get Siobhan to bring that image of that questionnaire up so that,
what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, that's actually the questionnaire that we used during our research program that we did at the University of the Sunshine Coast here. Just put a plug in for them. And so it uses what are called visual analog scales. So that's basically a 10 centimetre line with marks on it. And when you print it out, it should print that line out to 10 centimetres, hopefully, or thereabouts. And the first number of questions there are about your current symptoms, because it's really...
Okay, I'm fill this in while you're talking.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
I'll start down here with my name.
Yeah, that's right. Put your name in. And really importantly, put today's date in, 22nd of April, 2020.
Still passes in the real world.
Yeah,
okay.
That's really important. Yeah.
All right, so I make a mark along here. Do I need to put it, do I put it at those numbers, or can I be like kind of 6 1/4 or something?
Yeah. Yeah, you can make, so the idea is that for each area of your body, you make a decision about your level of pain. And we want you to rate your level of pain between 0, which is pain-free, and 10, which is pain as severe as you can imagine. So if you're using that line, you just make a mark anywhere along the line. It doesn't have to be on the numbers. It can be.
I have a question. For my right elbow and hand, Sandra, but it has been sore, my right hand, but that's because I've been kneading pasta dough. I don't know if it's related to my question. Do I take that into account?
Yeah, I would put it down. I would make the mark, but I'd also write on the comment that you've been making pasta too much.
Okay, yeah, I have been making pasta too much. That's fair.
Okay, so just through all those pain areas, doesn't matter if it's a 0 pain, just make a note. Don't spend too much time thinking about it. Usually your first thought is the one that's most reliable, and those pain areas. Then the last question on that page is about rating your posture. Now, we don't ask you to rate your posture. We ask you to rate your slouching. So the question actually is, how often do you slouch or stoop? And with, again, 0 to 10, and 0 is never, so you never slouch, and 10 is all the time. So once again, you just make a mark on that line to represent how often you slouch or stoop. So that's it. Print it off and fill out the form. We can also do it, we thought that might be a bit tricky for some people. So you can do something on your phone, and I'll run through that. I think Siobhan's going to have put up some image of doing.
Yeah, I've got an image just coming through. So that I should have mentioned as well that that posture assessment is free on the website, and you don't have to give us your email address or anything. It's there, free to download.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but if you don't have that, and you were saying, Mum, I think I remember last time we were practicing this, that it is kind of, it's the best way to do it is to print that out, but you can do it digitally like I just did as well. Because it's something to do with the actual
Yes.
size of the...
Yes, that's right. It is best to print it out and work on the printed page. Well, for research reasons, actually, for research validity, it's meant to be a visual analog scale is a 10 centimetre line with those markings on it. So if you do it digitally online, like Siobhan just did, as she was showing you, it actually may not be 10 centimetres, which just means that research-wise, if you were in a research program, you couldn't compare your results with someone else's results. But as long as you do it the same way for you each time, that's pretty much okay.
All right. So if you can't be bothered doing that, you were saying we can just make notes.
Yeah. Open a new note on your phone, grab a piece of paper, write something down, open a file, and call it something like posture assessment. Then so call it that and go down a line.
Oh, my stuff is so bad.
However, you're the one who's going to be reading it. Go down the line and write today's date. Yes, it's really important. Yeah. Go down a line, and we're just actually going to do an overall evaluation of your pain. And this is actually this system as well as being used in research, so it's not like we're doing something, invalid. We just want you to type the word pain, put a space or a tab, and then again, think of that 0 to 10 scale where 0 is pain-free, 10 is pain as severe as you can imagine, and come up with a figure that represents your overall level of pain currently. And when I say currently, it may not be right now, but it might be in the last couple of days what you feel it is. So you've got pain and a value, and then the next one is, I don't know, no, we're not going to write posture. We're going to write slouch.
Slouching, okay. So.
Yeah, I don't want you to think, rate my posture right now. I want you to think, how often do I slouch or stoop? 0 is 10 is all the time, and just write a number that represents that.
I think I'm like 6.5.
Okay, that's fine. All right, now save it. Close it. And with the next bit.
All right.
Okay, so now we want to fit your back tone. It's best to do this standing up, so everyone at home, stand up, grab your back tone, and we'll get it ready for putting on. So a back tone, I'm sure you know, but it has these components that we talk about. So the little black box with electronics inside. Yep, beeps when you pull on it. It has 2 shoulder straps and centre back straps. So there's a shoulder strap and the centre back strap, which joins the back tone. Yeah, that's it. Good, good. And then a waist belt. All of these components are important. All right, so before you put it on, just make sure that your back tone is set to beep mode. There's a little switch on the side that allows you to switch between vibrate and beep, and we want it on beep mode. I will talk a little bit later about vibrate mode, but now beep. Also, make sure that that centre back strap is set to its shortest length.
Okay, so I slide
the little buckle. Siobhan's going to do that now. That can be lengthened, but most people need it at the shortest length. So that's what we do at the moment. Then the last thing to do is loosen off your shoulder straps. So lengthen those shoulder straps. Siobhan will show you how. You just lift up the front buckle and pull the strap underneath. So they're going to be real loose. So both shoulder straps, loosen them off. Alrighty, now just put your back tone on like a backpack. Don't adjust your shoulder straps yet. Put your back tone on. Now the first thing you do is fasten the waist belt. So it's fine. And tighten it. Tighten it and get it right down low on your waist. Not up under your chest. On your waist, which is around about where your belly button is. Now we want that waist belt really tight, because we want it not to slide up your back as you move around. sometimes I say to people, so think about so tight it hurts, but not quite.
It doesn't hurt.
No.
It's not hurting.
Okay, good. So, and then also just check that your little black box and center back strap is centered on your back. So just turn around and have a look. Oh yeah, yours is centered, Siobhan. Yeah. And your waist belt is nice and horizontal. And now that you've got that foundation in place, now you can start adjusting your shoulder straps, because this is actually the way you set your back tone sensitivity. So you're going to have to sort of, and it's good to pull down both straps at the same time. So you adjust the sensitivity so that it beeps when you slouch down and stops beeping when you straighten up. Now remember, the tighter you have it, the kind of more upright you're setting yourself. And so you might not want to set it to that in the early stages. You might just want to get it to pick up when you're doing your really tired west slouching. But don't go too straight initially. It's just too much hard work.
And it's interesting because these straps they're not super tight, they're quite loose, and I can imagine if you weren't paying attention to these instructions, which I know are also very detailed in the box as well, you might just yank one on those and try to feel really secure, but they're actually quite comfortable and loose.
Yes, a correctly fitted back tone can feel quite loose on the shoulder straps. It's not about the tension. It's not about making sure that they're tight. It's about making sure that they're at the right tension for what you're training your posture to do today in this activity.
Well, what we also probably didn't kind of quickly introduce is that BackTone is something that you developed quite a while ago.
So, TikTok box. So have we got time to talk about that?
I just figured.
Yeah, that is a fun story. Anyway, so now that you've got it on, just have a little bit of a walk backwards and forwards, walk around, turn around. Now remember that you're allowed to swing your arms when you walk, and all you've got to do, what I want you to do is think about relaxing your shoulders down. Just relax and wriggle them around, relax them while you walk, and relax your neck. And the way to turn up the beat is to lift your chest, lift your breastbone straight up, lift it straight up. So when it beeps, relax your neck, lift your breastbone right up. Some people find that, can find it hard. They want to lift their breastbone up. They're trying to pull their shoulders back at the same time. But if you very quickly learn to relax your shoulders. So if you just shimmy and wriggle your shoulders and lift your breastbone up, that will come really quickly. All right. So now what I'm going to get you to do is sit down, try it in seated. But you might find that when you sit down, you have to adjust the shoulder straps again. And that's because your body girth changes between sitting and standing.
Yeah.
So just get it set up so that you're in the right position. Now, for those of you who are doing the program for the very first time, and for practitioners, I just want you to, I find at this point in time, when people have had it on for a few minutes, I find it useful just to check how they're feeling, because for some of them, it's a new feeling. And if they're sort of saying, oh, I feel a bit tight or uncomfortable, just get them to take it off at this point and leave it off for a few minutes while you talk about the next thing. And you'll find that they calm down. That feeling calms down really quickly, just after a couple of minutes, and then put it back on again. And it will be different. It will be different when they will feel different when they get it on the second time. So I'm going to check, Siobhan, how do you feel? How does your back feel? How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good, but we've practiced this a couple of times in the last couple of days, so I think I'm a bit more used to it now. I know when I first put it on, I felt a little bit kind of tired and kind of strange. I felt like I was really trying to sit up, but now I don't feel like that at all. It's quite right.
It's right. And it is, and once you're tired, or sore even, particularly, your muscles can't learn anymore. So it's important to take it off, or your muscle brain system really is what I'm talking about, can't learn anymore. And it's important to take it off and give yourself a break.
So the first time you put it on, you might only wear it for like a minute, but then as you get used to it.
2 to 3 minutes even. Yes. I've had people say to me, oh my goodness, it feels like, I feel tight, and you take it off, put it back on again after, oh no, that's gone. I've had people say, it feels like I'm waking up muscles that have been asleep for a long time, and that felt really stressful. Always you take it off, have a rest, put it back on, and that goes. It's just gone. It doesn't. What it is an indication that your brain's already learning. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So, surely. So I'm going to get Siobhan to lead hers on because she's feeling okay. And so her training session is okay to continue. And probably for many of you, you'll leave it on now too. I'll be sitting down. And I want to go through how posture behaviour works. As I said, the reason I do that with people is so that you can actually, it really helps you to design and deliver your own program. Now, I'm just going to say I had intended to put my own BackTone on now in that time, and I will do that shortly when we're looking at something else. But I'm going to get on with what I plan to talk about so that I don't get distracted. Okay, so now posture behaviour. It's easy to think, as I said earlier, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you can change your posture, your habitual posture, by just remembering to straighten up. And we know that that just doesn't work. And you wouldn't be here, I imagine, if you felt that that's the way to do it. And it doesn't work because what you're asking yourself to do when you do that is to pay attention to whatever task that you're doing throughout the day, and at the same time, pay attention to your posture. Now, by pay attention, I don't mean just remembering to straighten up. Remembering to straighten up involves thinking about your posture, deciding whether it's right or not, deciding whether or not you will change it, thinking about how you're going to change it. I'm going to lift my breastbone, I'm going to relax my shoulders, relax my neck, get it right. You're planning the movement, enacting it, and then keeping an eye on it, checking whether you got it right and modifying it. So it's not just a process of remembering to straighten up. It's actually a process of, it's a cognitive process. So using the approach of memory to change your posture means that you need to be able to pay attention to all the tasks that you're doing during the day, and at the same time pay attention to your posture. In fact, that would be multitasking. Now, we think we can multitask, but research has actually shown us that we can't multitask. We can only pay attention or attend to one thing at a time. When we think we're multitasking, what we're doing is we're switching, often quite quickly, but we're switching between activities. So we attend to one thing and then we disengage from that thing. We pay attention to the other thing. We have to set it up, pay attention to it, make decisions, do whatever we need to do. Then we disengage and come back. So it might be jumping between tasks, but we're not attending to two things at the same time.
So, Mum, you would get someone to put the BackTone in a session and explain all this to them so that they're wearing it and listening. I mean, I've obviously heard this before being your daughter, but what I love about this is that we feel bad that we have bad posture, and we can feel really guilty about it. But I like this part because you're kind of letting off the hook. You're kind of saying it's not possible to remember to straighten up.
No, it's not possible. And I feel really bad about all those years where I tried to get my clients to remember to straighten up. I know now, having done my research and done this, that that's an impossible ask. And so they would just failing. I was setting people up to fail. Why don't you do this thing? Why don't you remember to straighten up? Oh, you didn't remember to straighten
up. Yeah, right. That's a really nice part of it to remember.
And people don't slouch because they're lazy. They don't slouch because they're naughty. They don't slouch because they're not cooperating with your treatment program. They slouch because, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So getting back to what research has told us. Research has told us that we think about one thing at a time, and generally it's about what we're doing. So I've got just a couple of little slides to show this. And Siobhan, if you could bring up that first one. Think about what happens, say when you're working at the computer. So there you are, you're working at the computer. Now the computer, it's not just looking at the computer, you're engaging with it. You're making decisions. You're thinking about, what information you have to enter, who do you have to email, what program are you going to run, all those things that are going on with the computer. And if we have the next slide, they're what takes up your conscious mind. So while you're working at the computer, that conscious mind is involved in the task of the computer. Some researchers sometimes it can also be called your working memory, and your working memory is that part of your mind. And where this image is, I'm not showing you that's where it happens in your brain because it happens all over the place, but it's just a representative that your working memory is that part of your mind that deals with whatever it is you're doing right now at that moment. So your working memory is working at the computer. Nonetheless, whilst your conscious mind, your working memory, whatever you like to call it, is paying attention to that activity, your body is doing movement things. We call them motor things. Your body is executing motor functions. It's stopping you from falling out of the chair. It's moving your hand. It's bracing your shoulder so that your hand can move on it. It is delivering all of those motor activities without you even thinking about it. And those motor activities and those motor tasks are executed by another part of your mind we like to call it's a more automative part of your mind. So that automative part, it's not really automatic because you can impact on it consciously. So it's not automatic. I don't mean automotive like a car, I mean automative. So that automative part of your brain has access to a myriad of pre-learned motor patterns and movements, sort of like little programs that determine what muscles are used how in order to achieve something. So it has access to a whole lot of pre-learned motor patterns, and it rolls out those motor patterns according to, what you're doing physically, and it monitors how those motor patterns are going according to what it feels like. So it has an idea of what it's going to do and what it should feel like. And if it feels like it expected it to feel, like if it goes according to plan, it kind of feels normal and everything just strums along without you being aware of it. So it happens underneath that conscious level. So it's kind of automated. I like that term. It refers to how that happens. So we'll finish with that slide, Siobhan. Another example I think I like to use that sort of illustrates is what I call the chair scenario. And so have a think about if you walk into a room or somewhere where, there's a number of chairs, like tables and chairs in a cafe or whatever, and you walk in, have a look around and you decide which chair you're going to sit in. So what you do is you survey the room, you decide which chair you're going to sit in, and then you go and sit in the chair. You just think. What you think is, I'll sit in that one. You might think, I'll move it over here or whatever, but you just think, I'll sit in that chair. What you don't think is I'm going to walk across the room, then I'm going to pull the chair out, I'm going to reverse up until I decide which chair you're going to sit in. So I didn't catch what you said, Siobhan.
I'm sorry, my computer did a funny thing.
Let me know when it's working.
No, it's all good. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So just recapping. So you walk to the room, you enter the room, you see the chair, you decide which chair you're going to sit on it, and you go and sit down. You don't think, I'm going to walk over to that chair, pull it out, I'll reverse up to the chair until I can feel the seat behind my knees. Then I'm going to bend my knees and hips and lean forward and lower my weight into the chair. You don't think that. That all happens, that's all done by that automated part of your brain. You just think, I'll sit in that chair, and off you go and do it. And that automated part rolls out the motor patterns to execute the task. If that all goes according to plan, and it feels like that automated part thought it should feel, nothing enters your consciousness about the movements involved in sitting down. If it doesn't go according to plan, say, for example, you start to lower your weight and the seat moves, it's not securely attached to the chair, then that brings the whole thing to your mind. So it feels different, it hasn't gone according to plan, and then that alerts your conscious part of your mind and you modify things. So your posture behaviour is just the same. When you're working at the computer, you're involved in the task of doing the computer task, and that automated part of your mind is rolling out the movements, the body positions, the postures to deliver that task. Now, if it is accustomed to slouching, it thinks that is what feels normal. How that feels is what it thinks is normal. And so that's what it will do. Nothing will tell you to change. No, you won't change that posture unless, you make a conscious decision to straighten up. But as soon as you stop thinking about your posture, back in control is the automated part of your brain, which just delivers the slouch posture. So if you want to change your habitual posture, you have to reprogram. You have to reprogram that automated part of your brain.
Oops, sorry.
So that what it thinks is normal is the more upright one. So that's why and how we use the biofeedback to reprogram your mind. The whole thing about using the biofeedback is that you use it while you're doing activities and you're not thinking about your posture. So the way it works is that you put your back tone on, you set it to the right, to whatever it is you're training your posture for today in that activity, and then you just engage in your activity and don't think about your posture. I mean, you can think about it from time to time, but basically you just think about what you're doing. So you sit down with the back tone on, turn on the computer, start working away at the computer, you'll start to slouch. What happens then? Your tone beeps, and you don't think, oh, hang on, am I slouching? I've got to check that, I've got to straighten up, I've got to lift my breastbone, relax my shoulders, relax my neck, do all that sort of stuff. You just think, when it's beeping, you just think, shut up. And to shut it up, you have to straighten up. And so you continue on, not thinking about your posture, and it sort of goes, beep, shut up, beep, shut up, beep, shut up, beep, shut up. And in that way, it teaches that automated part of your mind that this is the posture, that is the posture that I use when I'm working at the computer. This is what it feels like. This is what normal feels like. This is the new normal. So we use a biofeedback, and it's important to use a biofeedback system that we find that is immediate. You want the feedback to be almost as you're enacting it. As you start to slouch, you want to say, beep, so that it guides you into the right movement. So we want it to be...
biofeedback is used for lots of things, isn't it? So that's across the board, whether it's training, how to be a better rifle shooter or how to control your heart rate or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, biofeedback is used for many, many purposes, but there are different forms. Sometimes people like to use a delayed biofeedback, depending on what sort of cognitive process they're going through or whatever. But in these circumstances, when we're training and guiding muscle behaviour, I find that it needs to be immediate. as you're doing it in task. So we wanted to, and also I feel that it needs to, so you might be asking, well, why haven't got all those straps? But the harness is really important, and the design of it is really important, because I wanted it to, as much as possible, prevent you from using the wrong posture when you correct your posture. So I didn't want people to be able to pull their shoulders up to get the posture right. I wanted, so if you put your shoulders up, I wanted people to relax their shoulders, relax their neck, and just lift up their sternum. And I also wanted people to be able to move around. So it's all, it might be one thing to train your posture when you're not moving, when you're straight, standing up. But you actually need to be able to lean forward, need to be able to reach, need to be able to twist with good posture. So I wanted, so this is this system that we use is designed to allow that. And also, really, really importantly, you needed to be able to just wholly focus on whatever task that you're doing, so that it becomes automatic. Okie doke. So we're going to, at this point, I usually, if it's the first time, definitely check in again how people are feeling, because they've had their back tones on for a little while now. And so we'll start with that. I'm going to ask you, Siobhan, how are you feeling right now? How's your body feeling?
I am feeling a bit tired now, because I have been.
Okay. So if you're feeling tired, I'm going to get you to take your back tone off. So but before you take your back tone off, loosen the shoulder straps. And Siobhan will show you how. You just lift up those buckles and pull it up and loosen your shoulder straps. And then you can undo the belt buckle and slip it off. So with those shoulder straps loose, it's ready to go for the next time. That's really makes the whole thing a lot easier. Okay, so while you've got that off, I'm going to find out what I'm talking about next. Okay, oh yes, I want to talk about taking your back tone off. It is important to take your back tone off if you feel tired, or and particularly if you get sore or tight or anything, because once your muscles are tight or tired or sore, that brain muscle mechanism can't learn anymore. All that will, if you keep wearing your back tone, all that will happen is you will get tighter and sorer, and so you're not teaching that automated system what it needs to learn. So take your back tone off, and the sooner the better, because if you will recover faster the sooner you take it off. Remember that this process is not about building strength. I'm not against building muscular strength to help improve posture. I think it's a good idea, but this is not the way to achieve that. This is about reprogramming your motor patterns. It's a great idea to increase your strength and your flexibility and your core muscles and all those sorts of things, particularly under the guidance of a skilled person. But don't be thinking that you're using your back tone to increase your muscle strength. It doesn't work that way. In fact, when people wear it for too long, I find that they don't progress. Also, the off process, when you take your back tone off, your brain starts to try and, when you've had your back tone on, it's a training session, and you've been teaching your mind things. When you take it off, your mind starts to try and integrate those learnings into its behaviour. So the off time is really important. It's actually important to have it on, alternate on, off, so that your brain can, as I said, integrate the learnings. And remember that we want you to have good posture when you're not wearing back tone. That's the aim. If you find that you can only wear it for a short period of time before you start to get tired, and so for me, as the example of someone with a problem, I really, at this stage, can only wear my back tone for about 3 minutes. Then I need to take it off. And I, like Siobhan, have not done a posture program for too long because I've been, well, I'm not even going to give myself reasons, that's okay. But so I'm kind of starting as well. But at the moment, I notice that I can only have it on comfortably for about 3 minutes. But I can put it on for a number of times a day. So mostly we'll be asking you to put it a couple of times a day. But but it's okay if you can't wear it for very long, and you might want to allow yourself to wear it more times during the day. Each one is a training session. Alrighty, so we've had it. I also want to talk about, I'll just leave it off for a few more minutes so that people can calm down a bit more. And I want to talk with you about the beat mode versus vibration mode. As you know, there's a little switch on the side. You can choose either beat mode or vibrate mode. In beat mode, it will continue to beep when you pull on the black box indefinitely until you stop pulling on the black box. So, but in vibrate mode, it will vibrate only for 10 or 20 seconds before it stops automatically, or it will stop if you stop pulling on it, of course. And the reason we had to limit that is because vibration just chews through the batteries like you wouldn't believe. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people ask me, can I use it in vibrate mode? Well, yes, later you can. Vibrate mode works differently to beat mode. The beat mode works, one of the reasons it works so well is that it's an irritant, and it forces you to make a response because it's irritating, and we want that. It forces a response, and it just won't shut up until you correct your posture. So it forces that response. Also, being an auditory alert, your brain actually works kind of a little bit differently to that sort of sensory feedback, and it can bypass your conscious thinking and get straight to an automatic response. So like if you think about, a scream, any auditory alarm, you will respond to almost automatically. And hearing, auditory alerts are very effective at that. In contrast that with the vibrate mode. So firstly, vibrate mode may actually not be all that irritating. It's not, may not be an irritant at all. It's more just an alert. So you can kind of leave it on without it forcing response. Furthermore, it's going to switch off. Whether or not you correct your posture, it's going to switch off after about 15 to 20 seconds anyway. And so you potentially can be slouching in vibrate mode, slouching, sort of think, oh, no, I'm too busy to do something about that, and then eventually it'll switch itself off anyway, and you won't have changed your posture. Nonetheless, we do need the vibrate mode there, and that's for situations where sound is an issue. So when I first did it, it was actually for a guy who worked in a factory, and there was a lot of noise, and he couldn't hear the beep. So we used vibrate mode, but you have to use beep mode at home first. For the first few weeks, you use beep mode, and that trains your automative control, muscular system coordination, so that it gets accustomed, it knows the posture, it gets accustomed to being alerted. So once you train that, once you use it in beep mode for a couple of weeks at home, then you can use it in vibrate mode in those noisy situations or noise sensitive situations, because you're accustomed to responding to a signal by then, and you'll have more success. But for those people who, and I've worked with people who just want to use vibrate mode right from the jump, they have a far less success than people who use it in beep mode. Plus they run out of batteries all the time. Alrighty, okay, so now I'm going to check in about how you feel, Siobhan, and I want all of you to think about how you feel, where you feel in your body, and if you're a practitioner, I would definitely, by this time, just check with your clients. So how are you feeling, Siobhan? Did you hear? How are you feeling?
Muted myself. I'm sorry. I'm feeling good.
Feeling good? Okay, let's get to back tone on again. So stand up, everybody. It's much easier to put your back tone on when you're standing. Plus, it's also a good thing to get up from the chair anyway.
So I shorten these. I also put, for those watching at home, in the comment section, there's a link to a video that goes through this spin steps that we made that has lots of close-ups and stuff. And fun, funky music. So I loosen these first, which they're already loosened.
Yes, the beauty of loosening them before you take it off.
This strap down the bottom.
Get the waist belt right first. That's right. I'm not giving you as many instructions this time because I want you. So shoulder, waist belt right, tight, and then shoulder straps. Now, yes. Lovely. Yes, sometimes people have a bit of difficulty doing that testing because they're sort of wondering, you know, how do I test it? What's bad posture? And I find a good way to be reproducing that slouch is you put one hand up here on that little notch there, your sternal notch, one hand, Siobhan knows it, one hand on the belly button. And now just think about bringing those hands close to each other. So you're going to curl down and bring those hands close to each other. And then take your hands apart. So that's how you straighten up. Excellent. Excellent. Lovely. Now, Siobhan, can you also turn around so that we see your back? Okay, so it's a good idea to check how the waistband is positioned across your back. We want that waistband to be horizontal. If it's too loose, your waistband will go, that waist will go up your back a little. And if it is going up the back, that's a real sign that you haven't got it positioned and anchored and tight enough. So we want the waist belt horizontal and we want the plastic box kind of in the center.
So all right. What are the mistakes that people make when they put this? Like if someone's back tone is not working, it's usually a fitting problem, isn't it? And what are
the most common problem is that people have the shoulder straps too tight and the waist too loose. That is, and then if that's the case, you have to actually take it off. Yes, that's correct. That's the most common problem right there. See how that waist belt is going up the back? What happens when your waist belt goes up the back is that sometimes it won't pick up a slouch. But the other thing that it does is that it will actually encourage you to use your shoulders more to correct your posture than to use your spinal curves.
And I imagine as well, people that like think their waist is, you know, this part of waist is
yes. Yeah, that's right. That's another common problem. Oh, it's not so common, but having the waist belt right up underneath under your chest is incorrect. We want it down near your belly button. So remember, if that's happened for you, loosen off your shoulder straps before you go try and change it. Get them really loose. Pull it down on your waist. Anchor it tight. Then adjust your shoulder straps. Now, have a walk around again. Just walk backwards and forwards. Lovely. So, Siobhan, lovely. Yeah. So if you walk now, all you have to do when you're walking around is you don't think about your posture. You just think about if it's beeping, turn it off. And so when you turn it off again, relax your shoulders and your neck, and turn off that beep by lifting your chest. Lovely.
So in one of your sessions, you get them to stand up and walk around in front of you.
Yes. I need to see that they're they're competent at putting it on and off, adjusting it correctly, using it in standing and walking, and using it in sitting.
Yeah. So they need to show you that they can put it properly and wear it properly.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So they might need to take it on and off, 3 or 4 times while they learn that process. And in the early stages, people can feel really, you can feel really confused about all the straps. But it's astonishing how quickly people become experts at dealing with the straps and throwing it on, and they know where the straps are supposed to go. And yes, it's quite good. Okay, lovely. So we're going to leave it on again for a while I just talk about the thing I want to talk about, which is...
I've got a program here I can pop up on the screen.
Lovely. Well, I want to talk okay, we're going to talk about the regime. That's right, and the program. So it's a good idea to identify, yes, you wear it twice a day for 20 minutes at a time. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But before you start, try and have a think about what your goals are. Why, and we've touched on that, talking about why you want to improve your posture. But what would your goal be? What would your goal be, Siobhan?
That I see some photos of myself while I'm at work and I have good posture.
One of the good things about that goal is, apart from it being great, that it's very specific. So you'll be able to think about whether you achieved it or not. That's good.
Yeah, we have to test it up. Yeah.
Have any goals in regards to that pain?
Oh yeah, my shoulders have been really sore, so I'd love that to go too.
Humans have a very poor memory for pain and discomfort. And that's one of the reasons we get you to write down what your current level of pain is, so that in a few weeks' time, when we get you to do the same thing again, you can look back on your results and see the power that you have over that pain, and to gain confidence in your ability to enact it. Okay, so that's a goal for Siobhan. Now, for me, as someone with a more complicated problem, I'm going to have a different goal. My goal at this stage, and I guess I'm talking to the practitioners a bit more so here, is my first goal is going to be able to sit for longer. So my goal, I'm going to focus on sitting, because although I do stand and walk a couple of steps, I'm working on another whole program dealing with that, and it would be too hard to wear a back tone while I'm doing that at the moment. So I'm going to focus on my sitting, because I spend a lot of time doing it. And my goal will be to sit for 10 minutes without activating my back tone. So, or it might be 6 minutes. I think I'll start at 6 minutes for this week. And so that's going to be my goal. And I'm not going to aim to have fully upright posture during that 6 minutes. I'm going to aim to not do the thing that I discover myself doing, where I'm just leaning right down, I'm really tired and I've forgotten about it. So I want to remove that really bad posture from my sitting routine for at least a 6 or 10 minute period. We'll see how we go. Okay, so have a think. What would your goal be? Do you want to reduce your neck pain? Do you want to well, some of the things that people have told me they've achieved will be things like, oh, gee, you know, Lorraine, I've realised that I slouch when I'm washing the dishes. Or so it might, or, you know, I notice that I slouch when I'm doing this or that. And so their first goal might be to become aware of when they are slouching. Or it might be for someone to comment on their posture. So we do have times where people say, oh, my husband says my posture is really beautiful now. Or we had one little old lady. We got feedback from a practitioner who was using it with a lady who was 86, and she was doing a whole Pilates program but still having trouble with her slouching. And she started the program, and after a couple of weeks, her sister said to her, "Have you grown taller at the age of 86?" So you might have a goal for someone to notice, or you to feel more confident about your posture, or to, as Siobhan said, when you accidentally see an image of yourself, notice that you're not in that terrible posture that you noticed before. So think about what you want, and that can change over time. Right, and then how do you wear it? As we say, twice a day for, I'm going to say, up to 20 minutes at a time, because if you get sore or tired before that 20 minutes, take it off. You're not doing any good and potentially actually making it worse. I had a very strong young man in a very active job come and see me once who had a shoulder injury. He'd run into a wall during the course of his work. He was going pretty well, but he really wasn't progressing as his physio thought he should. And the physio thought that it might have something to do with his posture. So this guy was really, he walked in, I thought, goodness, what are you doing here? Tall and strong looking. But when he sat down after a while, sure enough, he did start to slouch. And so we fitted the BackTone, did the program, off he went, and he came back a week later. And by this time, I fully expected that he would say, oh, yeah, my pain's a lot better. But it wasn't. And so we examined more what he was doing in his program, and it turned out that he'd been wearing it for like an hour and a half at a time. And he was driving his wife crazy with it beeping all the time, and he hadn't progressed. He hadn't improved his pain. So I got him to put it on, and, you know, we continued to talk. And he actually found that after about 4 minutes, just about 4 minutes, he started to feel tired. So we changed his whole program and got him to only wear it for 4 or 5 minutes at a time. But being a gung-ho person, he wanted to, you know, that wasn't enough. So I said, okay, you can wear it many times during the day, but no more than 4 or 5 minutes at a time. And off he went and did that, came back the next week, and he was much improved. His pain was much improved. So by him wearing it too long, he had actually impeded his improvement. And I like to tell you that story so that you feel okay. It gives you permission to take it off. So up to 20 minutes at a time. And once again, it's important to take it off. What's our next reminder that we've got coming up, Siobhan? Okay, yes. So when do you wear it? During what activities? This is important at this stage in particular. In this early stage, don't wear your BackTone in physically complicated tasks, or don't wear it in tasks that involve a lot of bending or twisting or reaching or lifting. We want you to use it in posturally simple tasks, because at this stage we're just training our trunk motor pattern you're training our trunk to hold itself at this level of curvature. So choose something like something that, for example, I'll give you an example of what not to choose. I had a lady once who got one, put it on, and then started vacuuming the house. And she just, it just was beeping all the time, because that's not a posturally simple task. There's bending and reaching and twisting. So that drove her crazy. And I had another person who got one and found that it was really difficult to use, because she got it and then she sat down on the floor, cross-legged, to sort out her family photos. So you can imagine how difficult it would have been to get her posture right while she was doing that. So they're physically, posturally complex tasks. So use simple activities. Okay, and next note is that we want you to use it during some sort of standing or walking activity, and one sort of sitting activity. Now, make sure you do both the sitting and the standing/walking. I've had clients who've used it only, like I know someone who only used it when they were on the treadmill. So that's walking, but not sitting. So that person's posture in standing walking activity was okay, but not in sitting. So you need a sort of standing walking task and a sitting one. A good example might be pottering around the house. For the standing walking, a lot of people tell me that they put it on first thing in the morning when they're pottering around the house, walking for exercise, and a sitting activity like working at the computer, if your computer allows that. And I'm going to actually use this time to ask Siobhan when you might use it, if you can hear me.
I've been walking a lot, going for lots of little walks to get some sunshine. So I'll wear it when I go for walks, and I'd like to use it while working at the computer as well. So that's when I seem to be slouching.
Yeah. Okay. Both of those are fine. I must say, if you walk for exercise or even walk to work or whatever, if you walk regularly, that's a lovely time to wear it. You get into that nice rhythm of the walking, and people really seem to enjoy wearing it then. And yes, working at the computer. Okie doke. What's our next reminder, Siobhan?
Tell me.
Storage. Yes. Okay. So it's important for you to think about when you're wearing what activities you're going to be in when you're wearing your BackTone, and make a decision about that before you start. Because the alternative is that you just sort of say, oh, I'll put my BackTone on tomorrow, I'll put my BackTone on sometime today, and then you get to the end of the day and you haven't put it on. So you have to pre-plan exactly when you're going to use it. So Siobhan, having decided to wear it when she walks for exercise and when she's at the computer, I would suggest that you make a decision about when at the computer you'll put it on. For example, a lot of people say, I'm going to put it on right at the start. When I start my work at the computer, I'll leave it on for the 20 minutes, then I can take it off. That's the way that it gets done. So
I could store it on the chair or something.
Sorry?
So I could store it on the back of my chair.
Yeah, that's right. So it's also important to have a think about where you're going to store your BackTone. Don't put it back in the box. Just leave it somewhere. Hang it on a doorknob or over the back of your chair or the armrest of your chair or even on top of your desk somewhere. Wear it somewhere that it's just easy to grab and put on. If you put it out of reach, you're less likely to get it on. Okie doke. Now, the next thing about your regime is that if you forget to wear it for a day, that's okay. Just forgive yourself. This is just be kind on yourself. You're not naughty. Just put it back on the next day. You won't have interrupted your training regime. Okay, so you just continue on. Also, if you are having a bad day or if you're ill, don't even plan to put it on. Don't. If you're tired, if it's you just got too much to think about, just give yourself a little bit of space and allow yourself to not wear it those days. I actually don't recommend people put it on if they're sick or tired or got a headache because it confounds things. Okie doke. Now, Siobhan, I'm going to get you to take your BackTone off again, and everyone else at home, follow along. Loosen your shoulder straps. That's right. Good idea to stand up. Oh, but not necessary, I suppose. No, right. Stand up. Excellent. And take your BackTone off. Have a think about how you feel. So tell me, how do you feel, Siobhan?
I feel good. It's funny, like my shoulders have been sore a bit lately, kind of here. And that pain's kind of gone, but I kind of feel a new, kind of not a pain, but like a.
So I couldn't hear clearly all of that, but I think what you were saying, Siobhan, is that
up here, kind of down.
Yeah, yes. Again, not unusual. people really notice that their muscles, the pattern of how their muscles work is different. It's different to what it was for obvious reasons. And so that's really that in all likelihood is going to calm down just within a few minutes. And what I think you actually should be thinking about yourself is, well done. Well done. You've done it. You've started your program. You've already started. You've already started to retrain that automated part of your brain. So I'm going to finish up there. If you're ready to now just start your program, you might have some issues that come up. Feel free to contact me through the contact page on our website. I'll respond. And wear your BackTone a couple of times a day for up to 20 minutes at a time, some sort of sitting, some sort of standing task. And I'll see you again the same time next Wednesday.
All right, that's it, Randy.
Yes. Bye.